Okay, well, it is 6:35, and we're calling the Underhill Development Review Board meeting to order. First order of business is public comment. So if anybody's here for a public comment period not regarding this application, now's the time to come up front.
I think everyone is
Okay.
related to the application.
Okay, right into the application. So this is a sketch plan review pertaining to the application of Christopher and Christine Dillon for proposed two-lot subdivision of property they own at 31 Beartown Road. The property is in the Underhill Center Village Zoning District. This application is subject to review under the current regulations, which are the 2011 Town of Underhill Unified Land Use and Development Regulations, as amended through March 3rd, 2020, as well as the 2015 Underhill Road Driveway and Trail Ordinance, as amended December 18th, 2018. So sketch plan review is an informal pre-application review process. It's intended to acquaint the DRB with the proposed subdivision during the conceptual stages of design before the applicant incurs significant expense in preparing a final formal application. This informal review and discussion at the regular meeting of the DRB helps identify the type of subdivision and subdivision layout that will best meet the needs of the subdivider and the requirements of our regulations. Sketch plan review is not a hearing, and the requirements for interested party status do not apply. This means that we do not swear speakers in, but we will ask that you identify yourself and give your address to the board before you comment, so we can keep an accurate record of the meeting in the minutes. So I'll first go around the room and introduce the DRB. My name is Brian Birch. I am the vice chair that's acting as chair tonight. To my left is Shady Bartlett. And on my right side, Penny Miller and Karen McKnight. And we have 4 members participating tonight. So next, I'll ask if there are any members of the public in attendance in person or to comment on the application. If so, can you please identify yourself and state your address for the record? And if your mailing address differs from your physical address and you wish to receive a copy of the decision, please provide that address as well.
I think everybody's signed in here, right? That was here with your mailing address.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're good. Next, are there any state or municipal representatives present other than the interim zoning administrator and acting in the representative capacities? If there's not, just for your information, a copy of the rules and procedure that the board follows are available to all attendees, and as well as the town website. They can also be obtained from the interim zoning administrator. So now I'll ask the board if there have been any ex parte communications or conflict of interest with the applicant.
No.
Okay, good.
However, I will just say that I know Michael Lang. Michael Lang actually built my house 20 years ago. So, but I think I can be fair.
Okay, you're Michael? Okay. Okay, well, yeah, as long as you feel it's no conflict, and we can keep moving. So in tonight's sketch plan review, the board will hear from the following parties in the following order. First, we'll hear from the applicant and his or her representatives. Then we'll hear from the interim zoning administrator, Brad Holden. Then we'll have the members of the development review board will have a chance to ask questions of the applicant. And then members of the public will have the chance to ask questions of the applicant, or of the board. And then the applicants and or his representatives will have the opportunity to respond to all those questions. Final comments will be solicited from the interim zoning administrator, the applicants, and any members of the public. Members of the board will then have the opportunity to ask any final questions and make any final comments. Just to know, when it is your turn to speak, all speakers should address their comments to the board and not to other parties present at the meeting. Members of the public are afforded 5 minutes unless by request the majority of the board consents to extending that time. The board members may ask questions of anyone in attendance to discuss the application. So the information package that was distributed by the interim zoning administrator prior to tonight's meeting is available in the Dillon sketch plan review file, DRB docket number 25-04. The file is at the Underhill zoning office by request and is also available on the town's website.
Under the calendar of events, if you want to look for any of the materials that are here tonight, go to May 19th, and you'll find the packet there.
So with our procedures behind us, I'll start by asking the applicant or his or her representatives if they'd like to give an overview of the project.
I'll lean on Steve.
Okay, yeah. So I'll kind of give you a quick overview. Name's Steve Diglio. I'm an engineer at Task Consulting. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, just turn up the volume. Go ahead.
So you got me? And Brad, I really do like the way you guys have your website set up. I may have our town talk to you about having all the DRB materials and everything up for each meeting. We're not that sophisticated yet. But anyway, the existing project site is a 5.8 acre property in Underhill Center zoning district, Underhill Center Village zoning district. It's currently developed with a 4-bedroom house with on-site wastewater and septic. There is an old gravel pit on that property that we're looking to reclaim as part of this project. What we're looking to do is essentially create one new lot of 1.5 acres. And the retained lot will be approximately 4.3 acres. We're going to use the existing curb cut, and about the first 200 feet of the existing driveway, we'll upgrade that to shared driveway standards. And then we'll branch off. The intention is to branch off near that borrow pit, the old borrow pit, reclaim that, and then push the road through, wrap it around, or push the private driveway through at that point, wrap it around to the house site. We have 2 site plans that we developed for that, kind of an overview site plan, then more of a focus site plan. That's the SP1 and SP2 in the Packlet. And there's going to need to be some easements between the properties for the driveways and the septic systems and things of that nature. There's like a replacement area. And we're still looking to figure out, we're still designing the wastewater system after tonight's meeting, though. We'll get into that, assuming how things go. There will be some steep and very steep slopes that are impacted. The very steep slopes, though, are going to be limited to the borrow pit that we're looking to reclaim. And after that is reclaimed, there actually will be no very steep slopes there anymore. That'll just be, a 10% most, because that's what the driveway will be in that area. And that's kind of it on my end. It's a pretty straightforward 2-lot subdivision, and and the grading, everything works out pretty well. I took this grading a little more than I normally do on a sketch plan, just because we want to make sure that that concept of reclaiming the borrow pit was basically restricted to the borrow pit and didn't have any issues on the existing wastewater system or things of that nature.
Okay, great. So that was good. You guys are good with Steve's intro. Nothing to add. Okay. So Brad, we'll turn to you and ask if you have anything to add.
I'll just divulge that I did all the surveying. I'm a retired land surveyor. Did it for 35 years. I did a lot of work for Sue Kusero. I surveyed this subdivision and took her through the planned residential development process. If anyone has an issue with that and doesn't want me to comment about what I know, I'm fine with that. But I thought we talked about ex parte communication and conflicts of interest. So if anyone feels like I'm somehow conflicted, please let me know and I won't continue. Does anyone have a problem? No? Okay. So when Sue subdivided her property, well, Sue's done many, many subdivisions, many. And probably before I met her, this lot, she created a lot for her daughter, Adri, and the subject parcel that we're viewing today for her husband, her second husband, Bill Lewis. So that was his lot that was probably created, don't quote me, I should have done a little research, but probably 25 years ago or so, that lot was created, the 5.4 acre lot. And then Sue had her remaining land that she wanted to subdivide and wanted to go through the planned residential development process, which enabled her to create lots that were smaller than the zone district, which was all at one time, including this lot, at one time all in the water conservation zoning district. So she wanted to create smaller lots, keep more open space. She did that, went through that process, and in the course of that process, did a slight boundary line adjustment with this lot. So in my opinion, this lot was not part of planned residential development. It was a planned residential development, and the decision is included in there in your packet, but planned residential development and boundary line adjustment. So the reason we shifted that was to get a better access, better sight line coming down from Beartown. Let's see, what else do I have to add? Guess that would be it. Also, well, it's worth noting that, as I said, this parcel was in the water conservation zoning district. And then when the planning commission went through changing or creating the Underhill Center Village District, they incorporated this lot into it. And Andrew Strinisky, our former zone administrator and attorney, was intimately involved in that. So I feel, just as an added comfort, that lot was included because it was not part of if that was part of the planned residential development, Andrew wouldn't have included it. But I think it's very clear that it's not part of the original planned unit development.
And I think several of us remember
Yeah,
PRD.
could have been.
We remember it was not
right.
part of that.
So anyhow, that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, let me know.
So just a quick one, is the whole lot that we're reviewing tonight is in the Village Center zoning district?
Yeah, if you look in the packet, this page right here.
Yep.
Shows that entire lot within so back to, the way zoning maps should have looked, or should look, when we created this zone, which wasn't that long ago, we decided to follow parcel boundaries. So that's why it's the whole thing. So there's no interpretation.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll bring it back to the board members. If anyone has any questions or comments from the applicant or Brad.
I do. Penny Miller for Steve. Steve, could you just help me out with two things? One is on SP2, for instance, where you're crossing at station 0+50, you've got it as 10%, but it looks like the grade lines are pretty close there. So there's going to be some cutting at that point, right? There is some cutting of this area.
Yeah, at 10+50, we're actually at grade. Above that, there'll be a little bit of cutting. We'll need to refine our grading plan. I just proofed it out enough to show a proof of concept.
Okay.
But yeah, there'll need to be some ditching and at least one culvert added as we go forward. And there'll be some minor cutting as we get near the top. But basically at 10+50, we're more or less at grade, and that's where we start to cut from that point in.
Okay. And So I don't think I've ever been involved in a project like this that has a gravel pit associated with it. So we are anticipating that you are resculpting this land, and can I be assured it is a gravel pit? I mean, typically people have steep slopes on their property. We would say, very steep slopes, we would say, well, it's in our regulations that you need to avoid those instead of taking them down and flattening them. So this is a special situation, you're saying, and there is proof that was a gravel pit, and this is gravel, and this is handled differently.
From what I've been told, this is a gravel pit that the town actually used, the road crews used to take gravel out. And essentially we're filling it in and revegetating it. So like in my opinion, it should be it's almost being using this project to as a benefit to reclaim that. So in general, quarries and pits are supposed to be reclaimed when they're done, but a lot of times that doesn't happen. So this will allow for some motivation to do that.
I also saw that in the regulations when there is a special section for gravel pits to get permission to have gravel pits, and part of that review for the DRB is determining a site reclamation process for when the gravel pit isn't used anymore. And they reference something called Vegetating Vermont Sand and Gravel Pits. It's a publication by the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service. So it sounds to me from just browsing that you want to be careful about how you reclaim a gravel pit, especially if you're going to put it under a driveway. You might have to be careful about your layering or how you do it. Is it something special that you will be advising your client?
I mean, yeah, we'll give them the proper specifications for compacting the fill layers and then revegetating. A lot of the reclamation projects that publication is for are much bigger than this pit.
Yeah.
So you're much more worried about a larger slope as well. And
Okay.
A lot of them are cutting back the slope, dealing with the drainage, and making sure you vegetate it properly so it can hold up long term. That's what we'll do here is we'll make sure this will hold up long term with proper drainage, vegetation, shallower slopes, things of that nature.
And my last question for you is just that looking at the isolation shields and well shields or isolation shields, I guess, on your SP1,
Mm-hmm.
because this is just sketch, I know you haven't thought through water and the like, but will you have areas to drill for a well? There are a lot of isolation shields in there. There will be on-site water.
Yeah, we'll be able to figure that out. Justin Willis did the original design, and he's actually staying on to do this one.
Okay.
So I'll be working with him to make sure we can figure that out. But I see opportunity near the house for on-site water personally right now. But that's also a matter of getting the drill rig up there too. So, but we'll make sure that we find a spot that'll work.
That's all I got.
So I couldn't make the site visit, but where was the former gravel pit? Was it just up by Beartown Rd or?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at
I'm on the flat here.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is just a little pit.
It was a pretty little one.
And
See those contours wrapping around?
Yeah.
It's right in there.
Oh, okay. So not even this section down by the road?
No. So this is the
Shouldn't the
berm.
Yep.
See who's wrapping around? It's right there.
Okay.
And shouldn't the driveway go over it? Isn't that what he's saying?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that what's being depicted here?
Correct.
So Steve, the area to be reclaimed is where the driveway goes up and over that steep slope. Is that correct?
Oh, that is. The pit's
Correct.
right
Oh,
next
yeah.
to it.
Okay. Okay. So where the existing driveway is up to the top of this steep slope will be reclaimed. Is that right?
Correct. It'll be reclaimed, kind of flattened out, And basically when it's done, the steep slopes in that area will be gone, or the very steep slopes in that area will be gone. So essentially when you fill in that hole, the steep slopes mostly go away.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, is the rest of the board good? We'll have a chance to ask questions after the public. So, okay. So next we'll give the public the opportunity to ask questions. If you do wish to speak, just state your name and your address and direct your questions to the board.
Yep.
Yes.
Hi, Eliza Kramer, I'm at Beartown.
Come on over
Rd,
just a little bit
3 Acre
closer.
Yeah.
Maybe just pull up that chair right
Sure,
there.
Eliza Kramer, I'm at 3 Acre Ridge, so just right on the other side of the hill of this. So I have just two questions. One, when you cut the hill down, I guess I'm addressing you. When you cut the hill down, you're gonna, like, I'm such a visual person, so this is so hard for me, but you're gonna see right to the neighbor's house, to Meg and John's house, or no, it's still gonna be, like, how much are we affecting our little neighborhood here by cutting this hill down?
And from where are you talking about? Are you talking about
Like
from
from
being
the
in a
road.
house, or are you talking
No,
about?
like from the road, are we gonna see into Meg and John's house?
Oh, from
Or there's
Beartown
still-
Road.
You mean
Yeah, from
Beartown
Beartown, sorry, from Beartown Road.
From Beartown Road, I don't really think there will be a visual change.
Okay, gotcha.
Which, sorry, can you put your house out on the map? Is it,
Oh,
does
yeah,
it show up?
sorry,
on
I
the map?
didn't bring new glasses, so maybe
Here.
Shani can help me.
You
But
can hear.
I'm around the corner,
Okay.
so I'm right over here, and but this is my land here
Okay.
as well.
Russell's, yeah, from both
Yeah.
sides of the road.
Yes.
And so then my other question, for the board was, when Sue did the planned residential development, like I have 10 acres and I was not allowed to subdivide. But she planned this lot and it can be subdivided?
You want to answer that, Brad, or?
I can answer
Yeah.
it, yeah. So as
Yeah.
I prefaced before,
Yeah.
Sue did many subdivisions,
Right,
okay? So
yeah.
back 25 years ago, she did a subdivision, not a planned residential development.
Right, yeah,
That's when Bill's approximately, and I'm just going by memory, that's approximately the time that Bill's lot was created, or I'm calling it Bill's lot, or her husband,
yeah.
right? It was not part of Sue's property. It was in
Gotcha.
his name separately.
Gotcha.
But then subsequent to that, the village center district was created.
Correct.
Which then meant, that was, can you explain that, Brad?
Yeah, so sure. So it's,
That was
when that
how many,
lot,
10
when
years
that lot
ago?
was subdivided, it was in a 5 acre zone,
Mhm.
right? Water conservation.
Right,
That's why it's 5 acres.
gotcha.
As Penny said, subsequent to that, this new zone was created,
Right,
allowing it to be 1.5 acres minimum, 100 foot of road frontage. So that's why these folks are here, to try and propose a subdivision.
gotcha.
I think also when Chris and Christine purchased that lot, it sort of merged with theirs. So now they're subdividing that larger lot because your original lot was, what, how many acres? It's 2, right?
No, I think
That was 5.8?
you were talking about the same piece here.
Okay.
So it's all, nothing has been modified since, well, nothing's been modified with it since Sue subdivided it 20-something years ago,
Gotcha.
with the exception of the small boundary line adjustment.
Gotcha.
And that, if you go online,
Yeah.
that plat is in the packet. My plat. is in
And the
packet.
other thing you can do is you can go online and you can look at the zoning district. And so there is this
701?
overlay now of this village center
Yeah.
zoning district that, where you can subdivide into smaller, have more dense housing.
Right,
And it just so happens that this lot was absorbed into
Yeah.
that.
That's in the packet as well.
Yeah,
It's on that.
and yours is not.
right.
Yours is in the blue, it looks like.
Yes, yeah.
I see.
Okay.
In fact, this looks like the last lot on Beartown that's in the village center zoning
Right.
district. Anybody else? Question?
My name's Meg Anderson. I'm
Come
at
on up, Meg, so we can just hear you
okay.
for the
Just-
record.
I'm at 5 Acer Ridge, and I'm just curious. That was really helpful context and history. I'm so thankful to be able to hear it because we've only been 6 months on Acer Ridge, so I didn't have a good understanding of. Heard a lot about Sue, but didn't have an understanding of everything you were able to share. So that was really helpful. And I noticed in the attachment, I forget the official name, but with all that packet, you mentioned it's very clear that the lot, the 5.8 acre lot, is not in the planned residential division or development. Thank you. I just noticed that packet, why is it all attached to in there that specific, like the by, I'm sorry, I don't have all the language for it, but that application that says like no lot shall be further subdivided and all of that. Do you know what I'm referencing?
The original
I
subdivision?
think Brad put that packet together. Can you explain why you
Yeah,
included that?
so as this application was, so this is the map you're referring to, this side of this,
No,
No?
sorry,
Okay.
I'm just referring to
the decision?
Sue's original application. It's all in there where.
I think our decision,
The
that
decision,
said
okay.
no lot can be further
Yes.
subdivided. Right, that was for that planned residential development of which
Right.
your property was
Yes.
one. So for planned residential development, that's a particular way of subdividing that you can
Yes.
no longer subdivide.
Right.
Even if you were even able to, if you had 10 acres and you were in a 5 acre zone, you would not be able to subdivide.
Right.
So that was just for those, what was that, Karen? Was it
Three
three
lots.
properties? It was three,
Yes,
those
and
three
I
properties.
totally, I
I
get
don't know, I
that.
wasn't-
I'm
Oh, you
just,
weren't?
No.
Oh,
I was just trying to understand why it's attached in the application if it's
So-
your lot doesn't, it doesn't apply to
you're right.
your lot.
it's to show that it doesn't apply. Brad wanted to-
Okay, 'cause
Brad
that
wanted to-
really-
I knew that was gonna be a question, and that would be a question, so in order to throw out all the cards here, so we're not like,
Oh,
we have all the information.
okay,
So that needs to be a finding that
Okay.
this board makes at another level of review.
okay, that's very helpful. And then, and this is kind of an.
And, not to interrupt, and it's the only current map depicting the lot in its entirety right now, as it
Oh.
exists,
Okay,
right? Because there was a boundary line adjustment.
yeah,
So before, it looked like this, but now we added the triangle to it. So this is the only map in existence that depicts the property
Okay.
as it is today. So that's
Okay.
another reason.
So Brad just wanted to make sure nobody misunderstood,
Okay.
so he was,
yes, that's helpful. And then along those lines, just for clarity, oh gosh, now I'm gonna forget what it's.
What happened?
Oh, I'm just curious, why was the lot, moved from the water district to the, like, what was the reason it was moved to the central
No,
village?
still
Or
with-
Well, you could-
Underhill Center?
Well, you could probably research a lot about that with the planning commission, but again, the thought was we have two village centers. We have the Underhill Center, which is very small, and then we have the Underhill Flats Village Centers. Those are village center designations. So they're specially designated with the state, and there was a process. So people have, opportunities for business and various things, but
sidewalks, for instance.
so it seemed logical to include this parcel since it was adjacent to, Underhill Center as we know it.
Okay,
And that was maybe 10 years ago. They went through a whole process to determine this, and that's what we've got, that we're not really involved with. That was
okay,
another department.
thank you, thanks for.
And I believe it was based on some historical mapping or,
Well, yeah, if you
That's
look
the
at,
Dan's,
so a lot of people think Underhill Center is this giant place. It's not. It starts at the bridge by the store and it goes to the school. And it's a couple little offshoot roads here. And that's it. That's the hamlet of Underhill Center. It's depicted on the Beers Atlas of 1878.
Okay.
So that's what they tried to mimic, I think, was the spirit behind that zoning district.
Okay.
Same with Underhill Flat. The rest is just the town of Underhill.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Nobody online except Steve, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so, now I guess, okay, so now would be the time for the applicant or your representative to respond to the question. So I heard a question about tree clearing and, about the, what, the reason why the original decision was included, but I think Brad, addressed that. So would you just be able to state, Steve, like where the tree clearing is gonna take place and would it be visible from Beartown Road?
Some tree clearing may be visible. Some was, I believe, already done. But when it's all said and done, that steep slope face that's not associated with the borrow pit will not be graded or touched as part of this, and that'll remain. And the idea is that the house would be, behind that with a kind of a walkout type of, built into a slope. So, I mean, when it comes to the Beartown Road, I mean, you may see the top of the house, but overall it should be pretty sheltered and screened, and there won't be any grading on the main slope that faces Beartown Road. It's only going to be limited to where the old borrow pit was, and any of that, I believe that's all screened already from the road, from existing vegetation, and there's a garage and things of that nature over there. So the visual impact from Beartown should be pretty minimal for this.
On site, Steve, we did talk about the trees on the other side of the house that are between the house and
The field.
Field, right. And we did talk about how those probably, I don't know if you can see those there, that would need to be removed.
So where that turnaround is?
Mm-hmm.
I would just kind of address there's a substantial trees were cleared, and it was due to the fact that the Dillons had them removed prior to all this conversation, honestly. Well, they were in the act of doing it due to the fact that they were falling down, essentially. They were plantation red pine.
Right, that's part of that plantation problem, red pine problem we have around town. Yeah,
So,
they often just fall on their own.
yeah.
They're gonna climb up on each other.
Yeah, I mean, so most of the clearing's already been done, and that was planned on being done prior to all this.
Okay. Anyone else have questions? Or, thank you, Steve, for that response. I think that was the only question.
I do have one more question. At this point, Steve, there's just a location for the replacement wastewater system, I presume for the existing house, and it would probably be used for the new house. So that won't be, oh, that is is that the new disposal area? Or
I can help you with that. So
Okay.
essentially, I've been working with Justin in regards to, so the Dillon's existing site is here.
Yeah.
There. And essentially, when they did test pits, they had 2 backup sites. And they chose to use this proposed one for the Dillons. And Justin Willis is proposing to use the secondary
Okay.
site for the new lot.
And do you happen to know, did those would that be a mound system or would that?
So the tentative plan is for me and Justin Willis to go and dig test pits tomorrow if
Okay.
it's
Oh,
acceptable.
it doesn't rain.
Yeah, it's not supposed to rain, but that's the plan. Justin, the state, and I.
Okay.
And that is a question I have: is that acceptable? That you don't have to answer right now, but.
So whether the test pits are, like the exploratory testing.
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, I think it's important to notice the separation here. We have no purview on wastewater design,
Right.
0.
Right.
Okay, so you can talk about replacement areas and all you want, this board does not have, it doesn't fall under their purview. So,
But we have to have a setback from a property line.
well,
or else
sure,
we have to-
well, no, that's
or else we
all,
have to-
again, that's all under state regulation. Right?
Setback from property line?
Absolutely,
All right.
yeah, wastewater
Well, then
setback from property.
call it personal curiosity.
That personal curiosity is fine, but I would just say that they're two different processes, right? So one, the state is going to approve the wastewater. We cannot hold up a project because of wastewater.
Yeah, so you mentioned having like a second system approved originally, but this like a subdivision would require an amendment or a new wastewater review, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that replacement area, it's either gonna have to be relocated or you're gonna have to be an easement provided to the Dillons so they could occupy that in the future, if need be. And then there'll be the new system for the subdivision. You don't always need a replacement area if you have a mound or if you over design it. You could do 150% design, 150% the design flow, and you don't need a replacement area. So that'll be figured out depending on what the soils tell Justin. And just for your curiosity, the setback from the state from the property line to a wastewater system is 25 feet.
Hey, thank you.
And do we have a general idea what the size of the house is going to be?
How many bedrooms you need?
Approximately 1,800 square feet.
Just comparatively in this diagram, it looks remarkably small compared to the other houses.
Steve, what did we end up putting in for a building size?
I just used the generic one that Justin used on the first application, so it's generic at this point. So we still have to still waiting for detail on that, but I figured that would be the next phase.
Just standing up there, it feels really small as it is.
Yeah,
so.
is it 3 bedrooms or?
It's going to be a tiny house.
Yeah, yeah.
4 bedrooms?
No. 2.
2 bedrooms.
Oh.
Yes.
No, we're not going bigger. We're going small.
And do we care about, I guess because it's shared, we don't really care about the water runoff from the driveway or anything like that? Good. And
Well,
I know we talked about the culvert. He's gonna put in a
Yeah.
culvert.
Yeah, their driveway will have
It's
to
gonna be
meet,
pretty steep.
it'll have to meet our driveway standards, which I think said it would.
Yeah, and ditching and culvert potentially, so we would see those drawings.
Mhm. Once you start cutting and changing it. Mhm. Hmm. I don't have any other questions.
Did you have anything else? Or,
No, I think
Okay.
that's it.
Give her 5 minutes.
Or no.
Are you good, Karen? Or
I think I'm good. I still have some thought, sort of concerns about filling it, cutting and filling in.
Mhm.
That's,
so the earth?
the earthwork. And when we did the walk, I misunderstood, but I thought you had said that the driveway was going to be sort of to the right of the Earl.
Yeah, I guess that was my misdirection.
So it's going to be sort of over the pit.
Mhm.
So kind of to the left of where we walked, those of us that cut up.
Yeah,
the-
all the trees were piled in that hole.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's where the driveway is gonna be, I guess, right? Where all those trees were piled in the hole.
Yeah,
the pit hole.
right, yes.
Yeah.
I think they'll be taking those out.
Mhm.
So then I would have a question for Brad. Since this is a sketch plan, there's no written decision, correct? Is it just like a letter?
Acceptance letter.
Okay, acceptance letter, and are we able to like flag an issue that we'd like to see more information
Yeah,
on?
that's the whole purpose of this hearing
Yep.
is to flag issues and in that acceptance
So
letter.
that-
But I want one more crack. I want one more crack at it, like I have, I think. Is it my turn yet?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I think we're
Go
good.
ahead,
Yeah.
Frank.
I just want to clarify the gravel pit thing. So I don't know, unless somebody has some evidence that the town was taking gravel out of there, I would dispute that. It wasn't the Lanfear's property. I think it was the Seward's farm was who Kusero bought that from, Seward's. But anyway, we could certainly date the time that gravel was probably extricated, I'm sure. But I just want it clear for the record that unless someone has some hard evidence, it may be hearsay that, oh, the town took that. Well, show me the proof.
Right.
So, but anyway, regardless, I'll do a little work and see if I can pin down a time frame when that was taken out of there, based on information I have.
I mean, obviously, it's not the natural lay of the land there.
Oh, it's definitely, there's no question in my mind.
Somebody
it was
dug
excavated.
that out.
Yeah, so we have several sources I could use. UVM used to practice here in Underhill Center with their civil engineering department, so they've topoed this whole place, like all the way around here. I have some old maps that are pretty cool, and they depict borrow pits. You've got USGS that might depict a little pit. We've got 62 imagery. We've got 42 imagery. I think we can maybe narrow down when that was
Okay.
extricated.
But yeah, it goes back like that far to like at least the 40s.
Yeah.
Okay.
37.
Okay, so
It's not very big.
But you'll see it. Anyway, compaction, everybody was talking about compaction. This really,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like a large project to me. It's a pretty small hole and proper compaction. You should have no problem with the driveway.
okay, any final questions from the board? So we can, make a decision whether we treat this application as a minor or major subdivision. So we can kind of talk about that in the next step. But just wanted to ask first if you guys felt you had enough information to decide whether the proposed sketch plan has fulfilled the application requirements.
For sketch.
For a sketch plan.
For a sketch.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have the choice to classify it as a major or minor. Major would require 3 steps. A minor preliminary would be waived. You could go right to final plan review as a minor subdivision application. So,
That always makes me shake, of
Mhm.
course.
well, I think we can then always say at final if there was a lot of outstanding issues, we could then continue it to another meeting. But
As long as I'm not running the show, I might have continued things for 10 times. Well, what Charlie often will do is say, what was your plan? What was your plan with regards to the application process? Brad, has the applicant talked with you about the long-range plan?
It's up to the applicant to request anything they want.
so they have to technically request
I mean,
request that up.
You would, if you were thinking about it, you could say, we'd like to request it skip right to final review.
Okay, you haven't, what I was just asking is you haven't
I
had
have
a
no
conversation.
formal, I
You
have
haven't had
nothing.
that conversation. Okay.
Might depend on when the applicant was planning to build too.
Yeah, so
Steve, you have any thoughts on that, or?
I mean, I'm not 100% sure of the timeline, but I would think minor would be appropriate. I mean, and if we can't get it all in one, there's no issue coming back for another meeting to tie up any loose ends. I guess with that, would we be doing a final plat or would it be a draft plat that then is contingent on final?
You'd be combining preliminary and final together. So you
So then-
need a final plat.
You have to fulfill the requirements of both, even though we're waiving one of them.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'd have to do a final plat, hoping that. Okay.
Yeah,
I think we can classify it as a minor, but you're gonna have to do the preliminary.
okay, so I think I heard a request to combine preliminary and final or waive preliminary to go to final, and then classify it as a minor subdivision.
So
You don't have to waive it.
you don't,
If you
Combine.
want- if
if it's minor.
it's classified as a minor, you don't have to. The applicant can request.
But let's walk through the
Yeah.
timing of it, since we have an interim zoning administrator who is very busy with a lot of things. And what the process includes. So we have 45 days, or is it 30?
15, I believe.
Oh, it's 15, sorry,
Yeah.
for sketch. Within 15 days, we have to, so that's half a month, we have to send a letter to you saying whether we approve or deny and what we suggest.
Well, no, it's an acceptance.
Sorry,
letter.
whether we accept or don't accept, and what the next steps would be. And then you have to apply for the next step. And the next step is either the final, or the next step is preliminary. And then the step after that is final. And that either one of them involves, I mean, each one involves, rather, I should say, making an application, getting on our calendar, going through this process, and then we have 45 days to get back to you. So that's, I mean, I remember Andrew was going to make a timeline, but he never finished it for how long it takes. So that's maybe 3 months right there,
Well,
2.5
there's-
months.
The minute you submit an application, we're gonna need 30 days to review that, put it together, get the warning in the paper, get the warning out to abutting neighbors, right?
Okay.
You all.
So that's a
We'll
month.
give notice, anything moving forward. Sketch plan, there's no notification requirements. All the steps moving forward are a 15-day notification by certified mail. So that's like 30 days there. Then you have the hearing, then you have 45 days.
And we're not
for
too
the-
busy right now, so we could have a
Right.
hearing right then.
Right, but you, theoretically, you could go 75 days in between meetings.
Okay, so 75 days.
Well, then you have, no, I misspoke there. Say you took the full 45 days to give the decision, then there's a 30-day appeal period.
Right, so now we're talking, add them up, I don't do public math that well.
Well,
That's,
30, 45, and another 30,
that's-
so 105.
Okay, so that's 3 months. So each of the preliminary, each of the hearings takes 3 months before you could, the preliminary, it would be 3 months before you get to final, which then is another 3 months. Or you try and combine them, so to speak, in one big 3 month. But that, everything has to be right, and if it's not right, we have.
I would say the majority of the time in cases like this, the final would have to be extended. We'd have another meeting, but
But
we wouldn't have to have,
we don't have the
We're
warning.
we
continuing
wouldn't,
it.
it would be continued.
It'd be a continuance.
So we're cutting off some of that 30, front
Yeah.
30 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, the advantage to the applicant is
And
definitely,
decision.
Time.
Time.
but the disadvantage is you have to provide us a lot more information with
Yeah.
the next application, where if you come in with preliminary, you know, you don't have to provide everything at that step.
So I think it's the applicant's time, the engineer's time, the builder's time. You guys have to figure out, do you want us to waive preliminary and go directly to final?
I will say yes. I mean, we have a lot of people on board. We've had communication with Steve and Justin, and everybody's in line. And, you know, they're very talented. They can follow the rules and regs.
Quickly.
And I feel like it's sufficient. And Steve, if you think I'm speaking out of line, please
I think
chime in.
this subdivision, trying to get it in one shot makes sense, just for everybody's time, including Brad's. But yeah, I mean, and it's the only chance I think you would have to start before the winter anyway. But with that though, you know, we got to get for the final though, you need your wastewater permit. So we're going to have everything pretty dialed in. And
Well,
I
you'd
guess-
want to see it, it's an application, right, to the state for wastewater and overshadowing notices. I don't think we can hold you for
The actual permit.
the actual permit.
But the building permit would be contingent
Sure, oh,
on
absolutely, yeah.
having the.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you
And the
have-
final decision would be, although I've been told these days that we can't even hold a final decision based on a wastewater permit. But I don't know if you have any experience with that, Steve, but this is what the attorney's been telling me.
So
So,
always condition it, but I mean,
Yeah.
Steve, the worst case scenario would then be, or best and worst together would be that if we decide tonight, we have a letter out in two weeks. And then if you made an application, well, you can't really make an application until you have materials that we can, that
It'd
we
take
can.
you a couple months to get materials.
Yeah,
together.
you gotta,
We'd be looking
Yep.
toward July, August, probably for the next time to get in front of you. I would think.
okay.
Okay.
And then if we end up having a hearing, we don't feel you have enough for us, we would then continue it. But if you said, well, I'd have enough for you in 2 weeks, we could continue it to
Yeah.
like 3 weeks. So we could, all right, that's what the worst case scenario would be.
Yeah, I mean, I think on my end, as long as I'm given direction whether we could reclaim that borrow pit or not, we could get a good design in. I think at this stage, that's all I'd really need. Assuming everything else you like with the sketch plan that we've submitted, and then Justin and I, along with Mike and the property owners or prospective property owners can work out the details. So we should have it pretty dialed in and as complete. I mean, I've been through your process, a few times, so I know what you need. I mean, and I know that there's a chance will be continued as well, a reasonable chance will be continued, but I feel like we'd have a good application where it should hopefully be. We'd have a shot at one meeting, but with the understanding it could be two.
Okay, yeah, and I will say for sketch plan, you've really given us a lot of information, including finished grades, driveway profiles, so yeah, I'm supportive of it being considered a minor subdivision
And waiving
and
preliminary.
waiving
Or
prejudice.
combining.
Well, I think it's
Preliminary.
technically waiving, but I think in the regs it says waiving, I'm pretty sure.
Well, they see the decisions though. They always say combined
Combined.
preliminary
I
and
know.
final decision. So
Because we've never quite gotten that.
Yeah.
But we have to fulfill both.
we'll
We do have to
figure out how to write it.
So you need a motion?
Yep, so now, if the board feels they have enough information, and so it would be a motion to accept or deny the sketch plan application.
I'll make a motion to either accept or deny the sketch plan.
Well, you say which one?
Which one?
Yeah.
Oh,
To accept it.
to accept the application,
Okay,
the sketch plan. Yeah, it's not an application, it's the sketch plan.
and second, Karen's motion, okay.
Penny Miller,
Yeah.
seconds.
So motion by Karen, second by Penny to accept the application. Do we have to make a vote on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll vote on that right there. All in favor of accepting the sketch plan application, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. And next, if the board wishes to deliberate on potential conditions for the next stage review in open or closed session.
I would say close so that people don't have to wait around. We
Okay.
can think through it.
Okay, so Penny made a motion to deliberate a closed session. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Shaney. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. And
Do we have to vote on combining
I think we
That
did, yeah.
in the
I don't think-
decision?
Yeah, that was in our decision. So, so this last piece, within 15 days of this meeting, the interim zoning administrator, on behalf of the Development Review Board, will send you a letter, send the applicants a letter that indicates whether the subdivision as proposed will be reviewed as a minor or major, and outlines the associated review process. It'll also indicate whether the proposed subdivision generally conforms to these regulations or will require modifications to conform to the regulations. The letter will identify specific areas of concern to be addressed in the subdivision application, including potential impacts to adjoining property owners, significant natural and scenic resources, municipal roads and infrastructure, and community facilities and services. And last, any recommendations of additional information, studies, or supporting documents to be submitted with the application for subdivision review.
And Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't close, don't adjourn before I have one thing I have to note.
Okay, about this application or?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we didn't vote on whether, I think we actually have to vote on whether it's a minor or
Minor,
a
we
major,
do.
whether we waive it. I think we skipped that.
We did.
So we need to vote.
Okay, we're gonna go, sorry about that.
No, it's
So,
okay.
I make a motion, that, to, designate this as a minor subdivision and, and to waive preliminary or combine preliminary and final and go right.
Waive a separate preliminary hearing and combine it into,
And what year?
waive the separate preliminary hearing and combine it with the final sketch plan.
That. So this is
Sounds
Penny
good.
Miller and I make that motion.
Okay, so Penny's made a motion to, consider this a minor and,
I second it, I guess.
okay, Jamie seconds.
There you go.
Okay, so all in favor of calling this a minor application and combining preliminary and final, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, no nays. So that will be in our letter, that this will be considered a minor subdivision application, in addition to, the other issues that I just read. And all abutting neighbors will receive notice at the next public meeting. Sounds like that may be July or August, but you'll receive notice by certified mail. And, unless there's any other final questions or comments, close this.
Steve had questions regarding whether, how are we gonna dictate whether we can fill in the borrow pit or not? How's that gonna be determined?
That'll be in the letter.
Yeah. So that's
Give you
something.
guidance in the letter.
Okay,
Yep, when we close the hearing, we'll go into just some closed deliberations. And that'll be one of the things that we rule on, or just provide guidance on. And in addition to some of the other issues that were raised.
Okay.
And so you'll have that within 15 days.
And then when we have the hearing, we have a 15-day notice, 15-day notice about the hearing. And Brad likes to have all the materials by that time so that when neighbors get notice, and we know it too, that they have all the materials available to look at on the website.
Yeah, I won't put a notice out until all the materials are here on the website loaded, then the
Okay.
notices go out.
Okay,
So the minute you get the notice, it might be a day lag if I send it out 17 days prior, depending on the paper and so forth. But no, you can, if you get that letter, you can count on the materials being up there. My computer's gonna crap out here in 2 seconds. I'd recommend adjourning.
Yep,
if you're
okay.
done.
Yeah, reboot now.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Okay,
Penny
second.
Miller
Can we
seconds.
tell the time for the minute?
Yeah, so motion has been made to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Express it with aye. Okay, I have a motion to adjourn made at 7:32. And you've adjourned this portion of the meeting. So thanks for coming.
For your time.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah.
Reboot now, continue working.
Hello.
Hello.